I hope you're watching this video before February 16th, 2022 at 2 p.m. Pacific or 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. That's because that's when DoorDash is set to announce their fourth quarter 2021 results. Now, in this video, we're going to go over some trends and definitely some warning signs in the Q3 letter that I think are going to set up what we should anticipate in next week's call that, again, signal a lot of what you should expect this year as a DoorDash Dasher. So let's get into it. Now, we've covered portions of this letter in prior videos, but this time I want to go a little bit deeper, specifically talking about a Dasher earnings, because again, there are definitely some warning signs in this and trends that affect DoorDash Dashers, really in any US market. So this letter to investors talking about Q3 of 2021 states our monthly active users, MAU, grew to a record high in Q3. Average order frequency in Q3 remained consistent with an all-time high reached in Q2 and increased by a double-digit percentage versus Q3 of 2020. So if DoorDash here, they're saying that they can get customers and they can keep them ordering frequently, whatever that is, 1 order, 2 orders every single month, and that frequency is maintaining at an all-time high. That means that ideally they're keeping these customers on the platform and they're getting them to place orders. And then more orders obviously means more opportunities for you. Compile that across all the customers, let's say in your marketplace. This continues. Improvements to our service, along with growing awareness of it, are also visible in new customer metrics. So the metrics that they're tracking with new customers indicate that what they're doing as far as improvements are working. The consumers we acquired in Q3 demonstrated initial order rates that were largely consistent with recent quarters and well above levels from 2019 and prior. The number of new consumers acquired in Q3 was down versus peak levels in 2020, but remained well above levels in 2019 and prior year periods. So this is saying that the new customers that they did acquire in Q3, that yes, it was down from 2020, really, let's say the height of pandemic restrictions, restaurant closures, when you have no other options other than ordering food delivery. Because again, restaurants are closed. It's not as high as that, but it is still easily beating 2019 and years prior. Now, here is a big focus for DoorDash with their customer base, and this all relates to, again, more opportunities for you as a Dasher. So DoorDash states we exited Q3 with over 9 million DashPass members. Of course, a premium paid monthly service, you can eliminate delivery fees with this, in essence, monthly subscription. And DashPass orders reached an all-time high as a percentage of total marketplace orders in the quarter. So this proportion of data, the kind of piece of the pie of customers, if you will, has never been higher as far as the proportion of them, or actually these DashPass customers that are paying for that monthly subscription. Now, why does that matter for you as a Dasher, right? DashPass monthly subscribers, it's never been higher as far as, again, the proportion of total customers, that piece of the pie, right? Well, that really speaks to retention, that it doesn't make any sense if you're a customer that joins, that signs up for DoorDash, they place an order like 1 month, they might place it or the next month, and then they fall off. Because DoorDash, and ultimately we want these customers to stay on the platform, to choose DoorDash if that's your kind of side hustle app of choice, right? So if DoorDash is bringing on customers and either they lose them in general, a customer is not spending money on DoorDash, or they lose them to another platform, well, you better be driving on that platform. And if you're not, you kind of also lose money, the same with DoorDash. Look at this really kind of telling number here. November of 2020, a share of sales, DoorDash at the time with a 50% market share. Now let's fast forward about a year or so to November of 2021, and DoorDash has gained 7% market share when Uber Eats, for example, has just gained 1%. Now, a month after that, Uber Eats is still at 24%, but DoorDash is continuing to gain here, now gaining 1% in just a month's time. Because here's the thing. The fact is we're not projecting too far in this video. We're not. We're going over the Q4 results next week and how is this going to affect your earnings right now in Q1 or in Q2, like half of 2022. We're not projecting into like 2023, 24, because it may not even be driving. So check this out. So going back to Q3's letter to investors, DoorDash states, as we create efficiencies in our network, we aim to pass a portion of the gains to Dashers in the form of higher earnings. You can't say it much more clearly than that. In Q3, Dashers' earnings per active hour increased by 9% versus Q3 2020 and by more than 30% versus Q3 of 2019. Now, I've said this before. What's really interesting is if Dasher earnings increased per active hour by 9% versus Q3 of 2020, I mean, we said at the beginning of this video, isn't 2020 the most restrictive when it comes to food delivery, right? That year was super restrictive, restaurant closures, etc. So you might think that that might be the best year in as far as earnings, right? Making the most money. But statistically, DoorDash was reporting that Dashers earned more in Q3 of 2021 versus 2020. And of course, more than 30% per active hour. That is a huge jump versus Q3 of 2019. So here's a question for you. I need you to answer this down below in the comments. We need to see, do people actually believe this? And that's exactly what DoorDash is saying here. They're saying, hey, as we get more efficient, as we continue to fine tune things here, they say, we aim to pass a portion of the gains to Dashers in the form of higher earnings. So we're going to get into kind of the scariest warnings here in a second, but that's a positive. So do you think we'll see earnings increase in Q4 in that call next week? Now, according to DoorDash, here is really one of their biggest problems right now. And it's good to always look at forms of improvement. I mean, they gained from 50% market share to 57 to 58 in December of 2021. So they're doing something right. They say beyond restaurants, the work to do is even more foundational and nascent. Most local merchants are still optimized around the in-store shopping experience, providing services that enable them to successfully transition to omni-channel commerce will require extraordinary innovation and execution. Our expectations of ourselves are high. We do our best to exceed them. So if DoorDash in Q4 and in Q1 of just 2022 in general, if they can streamline the restaurant's commerce experience, like they said, that combined with hopefully higher earnings for Dashers, that means a better system, easier for customers, easier for you, more market share, and they said it themselves, maybe more earnings for you. But do you believe that? Let us know. Now, here's the biggest warning. It doesn't matter what marketplace you're in. If you're a DoorDash Dasher, this is what I'll be looking for in next week's call. And if you want to join us live for that call, definitely join the team here and hit the subscribe button. But the Q3 letter states, looking at Q4, they say, hey, our Q4 outlook also anticipates the continued normalization of retention and order frequency among newer and lesser engaged cohorts as in-store dining and holiday travel resume. We caution investors that significant uncertainty remains and consumer behavior could deviate from the expectations included in our guidance. So even DoorDash, and I've commented on this before, I agree with this, is they're setting the stage to say, hey, newer customers, they say cohorts, newer customers and what? Lesser engaged cohorts, we'll call them customers. So customers that are new and they just wanted to use it a few times, they anticipate that that whole acquisition, that number of new customers is going to normalize from 2020, especially when everyone had to kind of use these food delivery apps, what have you. 2021, it still seems busy. We see it in the numbers from Q3. Everything looks pretty good. But DoorDash and myself are anticipating a tapering of that. I think it's going to start in Q4, possibly continue into here Q1 of 2022, following in Q2 as well of this year. The big surge that we saw in 2020, that was a peak given extraordinary circumstances, right? And 2022, yes, we're kind of still carrying some momentum from 2021, but I think 2022 is going to be the year of tapering. I feel like, especially as we get into Q3, I think Q3 is really going to be the swing quarter. I feel like the rest of the momentum, consumer spending, it's still high. Q4, I think the numbers are going to seem pretty good, if not on par with Q3 of 2021. But once we roll into Q1 of 22 numbers, Q2 of 2022 numbers, that's when I think that tapering is going to really be felt. And possibly what that means for you as a Dasher, it could mean just a touch lesser orders. You know, I don't feel like you're going to see a crazy, massive drop in order volume. I feel like you would have already seen that from 2020 into 2021. So like DoorDash says, I think it's just going to simply normalize. And I think there's going to be a slight and more of a taper when it comes to consumer spending. But again, not that massive drop that we saw from 2020 into 2021. So do I have to worry if you're a Dasher next Wednesday on this Q4 call? Is it going to be crazy bad? Is it going to get like super worse here in Q1, Q2 of 2022? No, I don't think you're going to see a complete falling off of numbers. I don't. And I think that, yes, there's going to be a tapering, but again, it's not going to be a crazy fall off of order volume. I think the bonus pay in large part is still going to be there. Again, let us know what you're seeing in your marketplace. And I think the order volume, it's definitely going to be there. Because remember, this isn't like, Postmates still trying to hang on. This isn't Amazon restaurants that was failing and still trying to hang on. This is the number one leader in the food delivery space. So if you did get value in this video, would appreciate it if you drop a like, and you can also click or tap screen here for my newest video, as well as a video recommended for you, and I'll see you in the next one.